The story begins at distant Sentinel headquarters, where you, in position of a rookie Sentinel, meet Lucian, Senna, and Gwen. You all learn about the pure hallowed mist that Gwen can control. You get contacted by the Buru Sentinel, who explains to you the situation. The black mist, controlled by Viego, spreads, which is an event called the Harrowing. But this time it's bigger than ever before, covering entire continents in hours. Finding Viego is near impossible as he can travel within the mist at incredible speed. The Buru Sentinel also presents to you the Sentinel technology, including Worldstone, an enchanted map which allows you to teleport between Sentinel bases, and a portable tool called Wayfinder to teleport you back. With that, you all travel to ruined Demacia. There, in search of intelligence, your group stumbles upon Wayne, who is unable to kill raids with her weapon. After she declined to join the Sentinels, she surprisingly suggests that you team up. You learn from her that the heart of the harrowing in Demacia is located in the Mageseeker compound, where the Mageseekers keep confiscated magical items. As you make your way to the Mageseeker compound, Shivana interrupts you. She quickly gives in to the ruination and buries you in the rubble of the Mageseeker compound. Gwen's scissors snip away the petricide bricks, and your group heads towards the Mageseeker vault in an attempt to stop Viego. Once inside the vault, your group encounters Viego, who explains that what he is collecting are feathers of Isolde's soul, and the one he took from Senna in a cinematic prior to this event is still partially inside her. Gwen proceeds to hide herself as well as Senna in the hallowed mist, making them undetectable by Viego. In a fit of rage, Viego brings down the entire building, leaving with the newly obtained fragment of Isolde. You all make it out unharmed and chase after him, but to no avail as he moves too fast through the mist. Your last-ditch effort to catch Viego is ruined by the now fully ruined Shivana. She is no match for the Sentinels, but she stalls enough for Viego to escape with the feather. After she is defeated, Vayne moves in for the kill, only to be stopped by the rest, arguing that her actions were not her own, as she is controlled by Viego. Despite the short argument, Shivana is left alive, and Vayne volunteers to join the Sentinels. In the Shadow Isles, we see Trash asking Viego for another chance to prove his loyalty, but is quickly turned down as Viego explains the real reason why this harrowing moves so quickly. Vex, the shadowy depressed Yordle, is the one spreading the mist. In the last shot of the story, we see Trash sipping away souls from this new black mist, seemingly regaining back his humanity as his face turns to flesh, but also hinting at his schemes behind Viego's back. The issues with this story start right here, where Shivana was not the only one ruined. Probably the only point where Wayne was acting in character was when she wanted to finish off Shivana. In her story, Wayne killed her best friend without hesitation after she had learned that she can use magic. She is a traumatized person with irrational hate for magic and magic users. But, given the circumstances that Viego is trying to destroy the whole world and she has absolutely no way to even hurt the spawns of Black Mist, along the fact that she just recently had an encounter with a Yordle magical being, even though we can't see Poppy anywhere in this story, that meeting should be canon. Wayne could be slightly more open to the idea of greater good and join the Sentinels to fight against Viego. I am absolutely a fan of character development, and people can indeed overcome their trauma as their lives move on. Even if I can't see this happening very well while Vayne is working for the Mage Seekers. Despite that, I believe it would take a lot of persuading to make her join the Sentinels, and she definitely wouldn't volunteer herself. Next on the list, what is Shivana doing in the Mageseeker compound? I believe she was supposed to be stationed in Brunwall, where we last saw her, with Demacian soldiers who respect her despite being a magical creature. Maybe the Mage Seekers brought her here, but I think they would just want her dead as all magical creatures. So this is a very mysterious question that might be explained in a future story. Now, contrary to popular belief, I think the Sentinel technology can very easily work. I don't know about the holographic projections, but that's a minor issue. The World Stone and the teleportation seem quite reasonable given the circumstances. Sentinel weaponry, the Relic Stone, comes from the Blessed Isles. Relic Stone has an interaction with the Black Mist, seeing as the Sentinel projectiles are pretty much the only thing that's capable of destroying the mist and the spawns of the mist on touch. So it's not crazy to imagine a structure that would track the black mist in the world. How exactly it works is a mystery. Perhaps they use some pieces as sort of satellites to detect the mist, and that is then displayed on the world stone. Anyways, the Sentinels had a millennium to rig this up. In current lore, we are not exactly sure what were the magical capabilities of the Blessed Isles, but the Isles were magically potent, and the monks of the Isles had a lot of magical knowledge. We know that Tyrus comes from the Blessed Isles long before the ruination, and Rise learned everything he knows from Tyrus, so it's very likely that he taught him his teleportation ability, which comes from this knowledge. The same knowledge might be how the World Stone does its teleportation. Interesting thing about both the Black Mist and the Hollowed Mist is that it doesn't seem to be a regular type of magic, as neither of them is affected by Petricide, which absorbs magic and blocks its effect. This can be seen when Viego was able to crush the Petricide building of the Mage Seeker's vault, and how Gwen was able to snip the Petricide bricks with her magical scissors. As you arrive in Freljord, you quickly realize that you are buried in a snowdrift, where the Sentinel base once stood. After a bit of digging, you find out that Freljord has already been ruined. You soon spot Olaf in a berserk rage, hopelessly fighting the wraiths, which he cannot harm, but he doesn't fall to them either. He soon, however, picks on Vex, finding a worthy opponent in him. You and the rest of the Sentinels intervene just in time, saving his life, denying him a glorious death. This angers Olaf deeply as he engages the Sentinels, but after some diplomatic de-escalation, he calms down. Meanwhile, Vex leaves to find the magical artifact, and you, now guided by Olaf, follow him. After reaching the top of an iceberg, you find Vex and his shadow digging for the artifact. The shadow proves too much of a match, and the only way out is to get Olaf to berserk through him. However, after being calmed down, he is unable to get enraged, so you need to anger him. A handful of insults do the trick as he gets enraged and frees you all from the shadow's grasp. Vex, however, having just found the next feather, leaves the mountain with haste. You cause an avalanche to block him off, and Vex showcases its potential in-game ability when he inevitably gets released as a champion, while he and the Shadows leave the Freljord for good. Taking another loss, you recruit Olaf to your cause, but he loses his eye in the process of becoming Sentinel Redbeard's angry axis. Here we are getting to some real issues with this event. Olaf was completely dumbed down for the sake of comedy in this story. There isn't a single scene where he is serious, from start to the finish, which is insane given his actual character in the lore. For that alone, I prefer how comics treated him, where he simply wasn't at all. There is, however, a small chance that Olaf, among other characters in the future, isn't actually supposed to be recruited. Even though it makes perfect sense, he's fought heroics before, he knows Lucian when he remembers it, but he might just be here in this event just so that every region would have a recruit with a new mission. Missions were originally the only way to grind points. so there had to be a lot of them. Besides that, there isn't much to say. Very straightforward story of Vex coming in, taking the feather. Vex is a new character. This is the first time we've actually seen him do anything, so it feels more like an introduction to him. We don't know much about how Vex and his powers work, but the Shadow seems to be a separate entity that follows Vex or is bound to him. Through dialogue, it seems that the Shadow mimics Vex's expressions, which might hint at some bond between the two. The Shadow also appears to use the black mist to great extent, and yeah, Olaf loses an eye while dressing, and that's supposed to be a canon skin. As you arrive in Noxus, you realize the Sentinel base has been paved over. The Reckoner's arena stands over it now. Inside, you find the ruined audiences cheering for Noxian gladiators battling wraiths. The ruined Draven quickly locks you in the arena as his next show, forcing you to fight through crowds of wraiths for entertainment. After he's satisfied and happy with the show, he puts you all in the gladiator's pens, where you meet Riven. With her sophisticated plan, you escape the prison, retrieving your weapons along the way, and begin to follow the mist, eventually leading you to the Noxian catacombs. You, Riven, and Senna proceed further, others stay back securing the entrance. After a quick pause for some riddle time, you get into the vault just to find Viego, who already has the next feather, waiting to meet Senna again, proving how silly it was to separate with the others. He goes on to further explain the feathers and tries to make Senna give him the piece that is still in her, but leaves after she refuses. Senna challenges him to fight to the death, but instead a Draven arrives in his place, proving again that it was a silly idea to separate. You make your way back to the arena, where you defeat Draven and reunite with the other Sentinels, leaving Noxus behind, but not before you recruit Riven to join your Sentinel family. So, the biggest issue here is Riven and her sword. Even more so than Wayne, there is no question she would not leave her runic sword behind. That sword is part of her identity, it represents her guilt over what she had done in Ionia, both as an Noxian invader and when she had the blade broken after abandoning the invasion. If you want to know more about this long story, it is explained in the Sisterhood of War series, and Confessions of Broken Blade explain how Riven had her sword broken and what happened there. But for this situation right here, I have a fairly simple and plausible explanation. The main reason Riven was brought back to Noxus is because the Black Rose had arranged it to have her hunted down and brought back. That's what happened in the Sisterhood of War. It happened because Black Rose wanted Riven's runic sword. We don't know why, but I don't believe that they would bring her to Noxus and then just leave the sword sit in the Reckoner's arena. What I believe instead happened is that Riven didn't find her sword in the armory. Instead, she might have fought with a different sword. She is an excellent swordsman, even without the rune magic in her blade. This has never been indicated in the novel, but her runic blade was not directly mentioned either. There's one scene where it mentions she had a sword. That could be potentially any sword. And while her character is definitely shown holding the runic blade, all the Sentinels are shown holding their weapons during the prison sequence, even though it's been well established that they had been disarmed at the time, only using the field bucket as a weapon. So that's simply a lack of graphical assets for the novel, it's not something to take as a fact. I'm quite certain that Black Rose would have taken the runic blade away long time ago. When Senna asked Riven to join Sentinels, just before she asked Riven what she was gonna do next. And here I think in this case, Riven would have thought of recovering her sword back. But after being persuaded to join Sentinels, this would explain why she picked up the Sentinel sword if she didn't have any better option to begin with. I think this little change would make this story more believable.